Okay, so imagine a world where wearing perfume was a secret,
Hmm.
a hushed luxury, reserved just for royalty, maybe elite rituals.
Yeah.
That's really where fragrance began. But today, wow, it's something totally different.
Yeah.
It's identity, right?
Mm.
Bottled, branded, broadcast everywhere.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Seeing how something so, like, deeply traditional can just transform so quickly. We're really seeing this huge shift away from just what's in the bottle
Yeah.
to what does the scent actually say about me. It's profound.
And it's exactly what we're diving into today, this whole fascinating evolution of fragrance. Our mission really is to unpack how scent went from being this symbol of power
Right.
to something super personal, an expression of identity. We're going to look at the global shifts, the generational changes, all the new trends that are just reshaping this massive market.
On like billion-dollar website.
And yeah, our approach is basically to walk you through how fragrance is being bought now, how it's worn, how it's sold. We'll cover, the U.S. market's big, bold moves.
All the way to China's really rapid awakening. And, of course, how Gen Z is just completely rewriting the rules.
Yeah, they really are.
We'll use specific examples from our source material, talk about what it all means for you, as a consumer, and also for the brands trying to get your attention.
Okay, so let's trace that journey, exclusivity to accessibility. How did this whispered luxury explode into, well, a global thing? Because before it became this tool for self-expression, our sources make it clear, it was really about power.
Absolutely.
A secret locked away in royal courts, religious ceremonies, these elite ateliers.
Yeah, think Versailles, right? Those silk-draped halls, or imagine these precious bottles, these flacons being delivered to fancy salons in Cairo. It was absolutely, definitely for the few.
So the question is, when it did become accessible, what human need did it start fulfilling?
That's the core of it, I think. It shifted from power to identity, and that didn't just happen. I mean, it was driven by some real disruptors. You got Francois Coty back in the early 1900s. He was, well, pretty radical.
So?
He took elegance, basically, and bottled it for everyone, for the masses. He paired the scents with really beautiful packaging, bold marketing.
The whole package.
Exactly. He basically created the blueprint for modern beauty branding. He showed that scent could be style, and importantly, that style could be scaled up.
But it wasn't just the entrepreneurs, right? There were the chemists, too.
Oh, totally. The unseen hands, as you might say. In the labs at places like Givaudan and IFF, these chemists were literally bending molecules into memories.
That sounds almost like magic.
It kind of is. They pioneered technologies like headspace extraction.
Right, I've heard of that. That lets them capture really elusive smells.
Precisely like the smell of a rainforest just after it rains, or, the specific softness of a peony when it blooms. They could bottle that.
Wow.
And then there were cultural shifts, too. Big moments. Like here in the U.S., Estee Lauder, 1953. She totally changed the game with Youth Dew.
The bath oil.
Yeah. She cleverly disguised it as bath oil. And that meant women could buy it for themselves. They didn't have to wait for a man to gift it.
That's huge.
It was more than just a scent. The source calls it permission, which I think captures it perfectly.
And you can absolutely see that legacy today, can't you?
Oh, definitely.
The DNA of almost every new launch, whether it's Glossier U or those Frederick Malle reissues, you can trace it back to these moments where perfume stopped being just an accessory and became identity.
Yeah.
It really drives home that idea, that legacy isn't just what you inherit, it's what you remix, what you reshape.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it leads us right into how these shifts are playing out now globally, especially when you compare, say, the US and China.
Yeah, the big markets.
Right. It really shows how these two huge markets are defining the future, but in really different ways. One is kind of scaling up desires that already exist, while the other is basically creating entirely new ones. It's fascinating.
Okay, let's start with the U.S. market then.
Yeah.
It's massive, right?
Oh, huge. Around, what, $18 to $19 billion a year in value? One of the biggest globally.
But its personality, its character, it feels less like quiet elegance and more bold.
Totally. It's all about bold moves.
Yeah.
This is where celebrity scents blew up into billion-dollar businesses. And now, TikTok can take some obscure niche brand and make it an overnight sensation.
Wow. So what are people actually buying?
Prestige brands dominate. Luxury surged in 2023. American consumers, they're buying the story, the emotion.
The identity.
Exactly. It's about finding that bottle that says, this is who I am right now.
So it's not just the big names like Chanel No. 5 anymore.
Well, those are still huge, obviously. Dior Sauvage, too. But beyond that, yeah, you see these other names taking off. Le Labo's Santal 33.
Everyone knows Santal 33.
Right? Or Barredo's Gypsy Water. And just a whole landscape of indie labels really making waves.
And what about Gen Z in the US? How are they fitting in?
They're like completely changing the game, layering scents like they're picking an outfit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And buying stuff blind, just based off TikTok reviews. Following these aesthetic trends like clean girl energy or, I don't know, the woods after a storm.
Right. So for brands trying to break in.
It rewards bold branding, emotional connection, and speed. You gotta be fast. You're basically competing on desire, pure aspiration.
Okay, so that's the US. Now, China. That sounds like a completely different story.
Oh, night and day. I mean, not that long ago, wearing perfume in China was seen as, well, unnecessary, maybe even a bit suspicious.
Really? Why?
The cultural preference was much more towards freshness, subtlety, not overt scents.
But that's changing fast, isn't it?
Incredibly fast. The market went from around 10 billion RMB in 2020 to an estimated 26.5 billion RMB in 2024. That's huge growth.
Wow. What's driving that?
It's being called a cultural reawakening, led mostly by Gen Z and millennials. They're actively claiming scent as, again, a tool for identity. The feeling is very much, we don't want to smell like Paris, we want to smell like ourselves.
Okay. So that explains why local brands are doing so well.
Exactly. Domestic brands like To Summer, Scent Library, Documents PMPM, they're thriving. Because they're blending Chinese heritage things like bamboo forests, ink scrolls, the smell of white tea after rain with really modern storytelling.
The sources called it emotional architecture?
Yeah, that's the phrase, which I think is brilliant. It captures that sense of building identity through scent.
So for the big international brands, it must be a real challenge then.
It is, because selling scent in China isn't about the department store counter anymore. It's all about the screen.
Meaning social media.
Totally. Discovery happens on Xiaohongshu. That's their big social commerce platform. Reviews explode on Douyin, which is their TikTok. And brands build loyalty through live streams, even virtual tours of their labs.
Wow. So Gen Z there wants transparency.
Yeah, they want the process, the purpose, the personality behind the brand. It's not just the final product.
And the potential there is
unbelievably massive. Get this. Only about 5% of China's population regularly wears fragrance right now.
under 5%.
Yeah, so this is genuinely a once-in-a-generation opportunity for brands. But, and this is key, it requires real cultural fluency, not just translating your ad copy.
You have to speak their language.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
You need to speak scent in Mandarin, metaphor, and meme.
That is quite a shift. And it really highlights this generational thing, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This isn't just a small change in buying habits. It feels like a whole revolution in how we relate to scent.
Yeah, think about it. Our mothers, maybe grandmothers, they might have had that one signature perfume.
Worn for decades.
Right. It symbolized loyalty, maybe mystery, elegance.
But that whole idea raises a big question now. When a whole generation starts prioritizing the feeling over the actual product,
Right.
how does that fundamentally reshape the entire industry?
Because Gen Z, they've completely ripped up that old rule book.
Totally. For them, fragrance isn't a signature. It's more like a playlist.
Playlist, I like that.
Yeah. They layer scents, they experiment, they buy based on their mood that day, or an aesthetic they saw online, or literally a 15-second TikTok video.
Like the rainy bookstore with vanilla example.
Exactly that kind of thing. It's fast, it's very visual, and it's deeply emotional.
And loyalty looks different, too.
Completely. They're not really loyal to specific brands in the old way. They're loyal to feelings.
Wow. So those viral moments we hear about.
That's it. Sandal 33 got huge through memes, right?
Yeah.
Not magazine ads. Or that perfume missing person, it went viral because someone filmed themselves crying after smelling it, saying it reminded them of someone.
Oh, my God.
And people are buying these scents without even smelling them first. Just based on the comment sections, the online buzz.
That's incredible, buying perfume unsniffed.
It's a whole new world. And it's global, too. Like in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, you see this blend happening. They're mixing their deep regional scent heritage, like oud.
Yeah, oud is huge there.
With this global trend fluency. It's like oud meets the algorithm.
Huh. Okay, so what do they want then? What feeling are they chasing?
It seems to be things like belonging, romance, escape. They want to smell like, well, those abstract concepts.
Clean girl energy.
Right. Or a boyfriend's hoodie, or the forest at 6 a.m.
The language itself has changed.
It's become internet native, it's abstract, aspirational, really intimate.
And it's not just the juice in the bottle anymore, is it?
No, definitely not. They care about the whole package. The vessel matters. Solid perfumes are getting popular.
Easier to carry.
Yeah, and maybe feels more ritualistic. Refillable bottles, genderless branding, transparency about sourcing, even wellness claims.
So brands are selling the feeling more than the smell itself.
That's exactly it. It's a key distinction the sources make. The old guard sold mystery. Gen Z wants meaning. Fragrance has become like a character in the story of self.
Which leads us beyond just spraying something on, right?
Yeah.
These new formats of experiences.
Yeah, beyond the spritz, as you say. Gen Z is really pushing the boundaries here, redefining the rules of engagement. Like, why carry a fragile glass bottle if you can roll on your scent? Or brush it on? Or even snap on a scented bracelet?
We are seeing that, aren't we? Joe Malone turning fragrance into a sort of paintbrush.
Or diptyque infusing scent into wearable things like bracelets. And lots of niche brands are dropping solid perfumes, often in these cool balm forms.
So the experience is becoming the hero, not just the bottle.
Exactly. The experience is key.
And then there's this whole other angle. Functional fragrance.
Right. This is fascinating. Moving from just indulgence to being really purposeful.
You mean scents designed to do something?
Yeah, scents designed to say calm anxiety or improve your focus, help you sleep better or wake you up or even make you feel more sensual.
So brands like Eden Nest, the Nuco, Moods, they're positioning fragrance almost as wellness.
Pretty much. Consumers aren't just looking for compliments anymore. They want transformation.
That changes everything fragrance becomes. Biotech, psychology, ritual.
All of the above, potentially. You've got founders investing in neuroscience-backed formulas, botanical ingredients with active properties, really positioning scents based on the emotional outcome.
And personalization fits in here too, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. It's shifting from being a luxury add-on to just a baseline expectation.
Like those online quizzes that recommend scents.
Exactly. Quizzes, sophisticated layering systems, maybe even AI helping to formulate unique blends.
Brands like Glossier, Fugia, 1833, Sniff.
Yeah, they're not just selling perfume anymore, they're selling possibility. The possibility of finding your perfect scent, your perfect feeling.
Okay, so if you're a brand in this space, what does all this mean strategically? Let's start with the big legacy brands.
Right. For them, the advice seems to be rethink reverence.
Meaning, don't lean too hard on the history.
Sort of. Heritage is a huge asset, obviously.
Yeah.
But you need to use it smartly, remix it like Estee Lauder did with that Frederic Malle Legacy collection, bringing back forgotten classics, but for a modern audience. Their advantage is trust. They have the infrastructure. But the challenge, it's relevance. They absolutely need to move faster, speak younger, design for the scroll, for how people consume content now.
Got it. And what about the smaller indie brands?
For them, it's about leading with edge. You probably can't outspend the big guys.
Yeah.
You have to outfeel them, build a real community, nail your aesthetic. That visual identity is crucial now. Tell stories that connect and travel online, and maybe even invite your customers into the creative process somehow.
Makes sense. Their advantage is being nimble, authentic.
Yeah, agility, authenticity. The challenge is scaling up without losing that. The advice is to grow smart.
And for those specific markets we talked about, China, Saudi, the UAE.
A really key takeaway there is local isn't niche, it's gold.
Embrace the local culture.
Deeply. In China, that means building from cultural metaphors, tea, ink, incense, like we discussed. That resonates. In the Gulf region, it's about blending those legacy raw materials out, amber, musk, but with innovation that appeals to Gen Z.
So oud with an edge.
Exactly. Or incense with innovation. Their edge is this incredible cultural capital they have. The challenge is balancing that deep reverence with constant reinvention.
Okay, final piece of advice. Speaking to Gen Z, regardless of market, what's the key?
It seems pretty simple but profound. Don't market a scent, market a feeling.
Focus on the outside.
They're not asking what are the notes. They're asking what does it make me feel like.
So skip the long ingredient list.
Probably. Instead, tell emotional truths. Position your scent as like the soundtrack to their breakup, their rebrand, their hot girl walk. Brands need to realize they're fundamentally in the identity business now.
Okay, wow. So let's recap this whirlwind tour. Fragrance.
Yeah.
It's always been personal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's really changing is just how personal and maybe how public it's all becoming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just something you wear quietly anymore. It's this tool for self-expression. It gets reviewed, remixed, shared online, tagged.
It's like a shortcut to identity.
Yeah. And we've seen this incredible journey from Europe's deep heritage,
To China's rapid reinvention.
from those mass market spray bottles,
To solid bomb rituals.
from the idea of one signature scent,
To TikTok mood boards dictating buys.
and from just smelling good.
To function, feeling, and looking towards the future. It's a huge arc.
So maybe the final thought for you, listening,
Yeah.
as you think about your next fragrance or even the one you're wearing now, ask yourself,